Hey guys, we're the Hard Time Strong Men podcast, sharing of a bear class of man. And today is a very, very special episode. And you know what, Six? Why don't you tell them why?
This episode is a literal dadisode because as of early spring next year, I will be expecting my first child, a girl.
Hi, Dad.
Ugh,
Dad.
Dad.
Hi, pregnant. I'm Dad. Today, we are going to tackle some questions for new fathers, from expecting fathers, from you. If you have any questions, we're just going to, I guess just kind of do a catch-all. This is such a huge part in every man's life. I'm granted not every man, but every father's life. This is your oh crap moment, and it's something that every dad can share. This, your whole horizons getting like just crushed and blown open. Oh, I am going to be responsible for another human being. I'm responsible for somebody else's childhood. It's a hell of a thing.
It really is. Just the perception of it's just how life used to be is not how it's going to be any longer. Like you said, it's a mind-blowing thing.
Man, I'm smiling from ear to ear. I guess before we get into the episode, we've talked a lot, obviously, but I'm so happy for you.
Thanks, man.
Congratulations. Officially.
Thank you.
This is huge.
Yeah, I guess it's Facebook official, so I can actually tell everybody else now in the world,
Yay!
literally on 6 continents. You're all hearing this.
I guess this is our first real official dadisode.
It is.
With 2 dads present.
It is.
Whoa. You know what that means, right?
I'm not cracking up at a cold one. It's too late.
It's time for a dad joke.
That's fair.
When you became a dad, you inherently had like a good, probably 2 or 3 books full of dad jokes already implanted in your brain. So,
Do you want to go first, or you want me to?
I can go first.
Okay, go for it.
How did the window get chosen for his job?
I don't know.
He got screened for it.
It's not your worst, but it's not your best.
I'll work harder next time.
Good. You should. What do you call a lazy baby kangaroo?
What?
A pouch potato.
That was foul. That was so bad.
Oh, that is what I'm here for.
Oh. What vegetable is kept in a cage? A zucchini.
I knew where it was going.
A zucchini.
And I knew I wasn't going to like it. Oh, God.
Oh, what's a nurse's favorite plant?
One that thrives on abuse and neglect.
Okay, this is supposed to be fun, not real.
Sorry.
Ivy.
Oh, God.
IV.
Oh, my God. What does garlic do when it gets hot? It takes its cloves off.
That hurt.
How much does it cost Santa to park his sleigh? Nothing. It's on the house.
How much? What weather do horses hate? Rain.
Man, I feel like I should have seen that coming. What do clouds wear?
Yep. What?
Thunderwear.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's enough out of you. Go mow the lawn or something.
When does a joke become a dad joke?
When?
When it becomes apparent.
Okay, you're done. You're done. Hi, pregnant. I'm Dad. This is you asking questions, us answering questions for new or expecting fathers. So let's do the thing.
So a lot of these questions, they'll be, I mean, since you're a medical professional and also a dad, I'm going to try and draw all these questions.
Very loose term, the whole professional thing.
I know we don't want to, ruin our rep by saying professional, but yes. I'm going to be trying to utilize questions that appeal to both, your dad side and also your medical professional side, because there's a lot of things that people either don't know or don't ask, including myself, which is why I guess we're here right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess to kick it off, becoming a dad is probably one of the most satisfying and significant, but also scary things that could ever happen to you. So, this could come from either side or both, but like it's got to be okay to be scared, right? Like this is a huge thing.
Oh, it's totally natural. 100%. Because your whole life, right? You have been, well, excluding extenuating circumstances, right? You've been largely only responsible for you in your adult life. So when you get that line on that little stick that your wife or girlfriend or whoever peed on, and you get that slap in the face, my family just got bigger, or I'm it's not about me anymore. Like I'm going to be in charge of a little human being forever. Is a completely, well, like you said earlier, is a completely life-changing experience. You will never be the same ever. I mean, your whole point of view, your outlook, your thought process will never be the same, right? And it's not meant to be. It's meant to be different. It's meant to change you. That's completely natural. That's completely how it's supposed to be. You're talking about something, talk about being scary. It's something that, was fear, right? It's, not knowing the outcome of something or worrying about a future event. That's all parenting is, man.
Yeah.
So that was a little doom and gloom way to think about it. But, it's scary. I mean, hell, man, you've never done it before.
Right. I mean, much like
of course you're worried about
much
it.
like everything else in life, it's like all new situations can be scary, but like this is a big one, because this child comes into the world and it can defend itself. It's so fragile. I mean, for God's sakes, it has a freaking soft spot. Like,
I mean, it's 100% reliant on you and mom.
Mm-hmm.
100%, and that's really scary, right? I mean, and parenting, comes by degrees, right? I mean, I'm learning something new all the time. I'm learning something new about parenting every single day. I saw a post on IG that, gave me a new depth, a new avenue, a new way of thinking. The post was, what was the wording that, like had a new thought that I am, outside of just being parent, like I'm in charge of somebody's childhood. And it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about it like that. You know, like my boys, they're going to grow up and someday they're going to look back on the childhood that I was responsible for. You know, that's heavy, man.
It is.
That's a lot.
Because
But
there's
the good thing is that we're equipped.
yeah.
People have been doing it since the beginning. So it's, it's pretty well and done at this point. So, if you have family, community, mentors, friends, that's what they're there for. They're there to help you along the way.
It's not like it's not like there's a book really on everything you're supposed to do. Nothing that really outlines everything that could go wrong or will go wrong or things that you should like be looking out for or rules and all that kind of thing. It's just a lot of this seems to be things that you've picked up off of your parents, watching other parents, or even so much just like learning on the fly.
Both good and bad,
Yeah.
right? So you can look at your parents, your friends, just people you meet on the street and see what they're doing. You're like, oh my gosh, I want to emulate that. That's awesome. That's a great way to do it. That's a great method, idea, whatever. Or you can go the other way, like, oh wow, yeah, my kids aren't going to do that.
Right.
Nope. Or, we talk about this on several episodes and several conversations through the years we know each other, but life generations are cyclical. One generation, your grandparents, like their parents were super, super strict. And so then they restricted their kids and their kids, our parents are like, I'm not going to do that to my kids. And then, they're super lax. So then you have, kids being crazy. Then it's like, oh, my kids aren't going to act that way. It's a big circle.
It's the whole pendulum
So
thing. It's the whole pendulum.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So, and the book comment, there's not a one and done book, but there's books on books of information. And I think the important part is not to try to find the end all be all book because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
What you can do and what you should do though, right? Have your priorities, have your values, have your left and rights, set in your mind and in your heart. And if you stay within that, then that's the best you can do. So find things that, help you further those goals, those values, those principles, and stay within those boundaries. Because there's so much information. There's so much good information, online in books from friends, acquaintances, whatever. But if it, at the end of the day, if it doesn't help you, be the man, husband, father that you want to be, help your wife be the woman, wife, mother that she wants to be, help your kids be the little people that you're training them up to be, then, what's the point?
Right. Yeah. Because growing up, I didn't have a dad that was even present, period. He was essentially my benchmark of, when I was getting older, at least into my 20s, he was my benchmark of, okay, this is how I'm not going to be as a father.
Right.
And I also looked at like all my friends and like all the lives that they had and, relationships they had with their parents. And it's just like, okay, I can see the good and the bad from all this. Like there's some things that I want to emulate and things that I definitely don't. Like I don't want my kid to be some stuck up, arrogant little rat, but I also don't want them to be, I guess, wanting, like feeling like they're alone,
Yeah.
like they can't come talk to me or, my wife.
Right.
Like I want them to want to be able to come talk to me, to want to do things with me, to want to look up to me specifically. I want to be the dad that my dad couldn't and would, I guess, couldn't and wasn't during my childhood.
100%.
But above all things, and I've said this to you before, like I am deathly scared of screwing up, you know, like, like you said, this is someone whose entire childhood, whose entire really first, 18 years of life.
Well, this is even outside of those 18 years, this is the foundation for their entire life.
Yeah. They're basing how they're looking at me the same way that I looked at my dad, or they're going to be looking at me the same way I looked at my dad.
Yeah.
And like they're formulating how they're going to be as a parent based off of what I do and say and act.
I mean, and you're 82 years old and you're thinking about your father. I mean, think about that, man. Yeah. No, but seriously though, I mean, like this is something that, people think about every single day, and, whether consciously or subconsciously, this affects you. Parenting is, one of the biggest responsibilities you'll ever have. Outside of the scary part, it's the best job I've ever had. I hate working. I hate going to a 9 to 5. I hate, working for a wage or for a living. Being a husband and a father is the best quote unquote job I've ever had, ever. It's what I love doing. It's what I want to do forever. And, I feel like we're built that way. It's one of our greatest responsibilities ever.
Right.
So, the thing is though, is you are going to screw up a lot, but something that's really great about kids is that they're super resilient and they're practically new every day. Like I've had he's 4, but he was like 2 or 3. And, we just, butting heads, he's being, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, being stubborn because he's mine. And, just had, couldn't do anything right the entire day. Went to sleep mad, woke up, and I was just absolutely heartbroken. And when he got up the next morning, he completely forgot about it. Dad, let's go do this. Like, it's just, so outside of that, you just need to give yourself grace.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like even though kids have the minds of goldfish, especially in their early years, they're going to remember core stuff. Like it's going to stick with them. They may not remember everything. They may not remember all the details, but if they feel a certain way, they're going to remember that feeling. It's going to be like deja vu later 100%. In life, but they're going to feel that.
Well, exactly. And something that I've seen, and we're skipping around a whole lot, which we warned our patrons we were going to do. But specifically with discipline, which we don't need to get into too much, but on the discipline side of the house, people are so scared of having their, kids be afraid of them, which, that is the absolute, left field. You do not obviously want your kids to be afraid of you. You are their protection.
Right.
You are outlining that. You are, being that example of, especially as, a girl dad, you are the example of what you want your daughter to marry someday.
That's true.
If she marries.
That's true.
If she ends up marrying later in life, she's going to marry you.
And it is funny though, like you say that, and I ended up marrying someone who was very, very, very similar to how my mom was, and I didn't even realize it.
That's how it works, man. Yeah, that's how it works. So that being said, be the man that you want your daughter to marry someday.
Yeah.
And it goes back to our other conversations on self-actualization, right? If you don't like how you are or how you act, change it. Fake it. Fake it till you make it. Start doing the things that you want to do. Start acting the way that you want to act. And pretty soon it's not going to be fake anymore. It's just going to be what you do. It's that simple. So if you look in the mirror, with that mindset, if you're a father of a son or daughter, if you don't want your son to emulate you or grow up to be just like you, if you don't want your daughter to grow up to marry someone just like you, then change that. Because that's on you. That's not on their taste. That's not on anything on them. That's on you, boo. Because speaking of, as a boy dad, my boys see everything.
Yeah.
And they copy me. Anything that dad does, they do.
Oh man,
So
that's
do I do I want them to grow up seeing dad playing on his phone on the couch? Or kicking the dog or yelling at my wife or not helping with chores or ordering people around without, putting in the work? If the answer is no, I probably shouldn't do those things.
dude. It's so much like that Rodney Atkins song, "Watching You." Yeah,
That song scares the crap out of me every time I hear it.
because
Yeah.
you're right. They are sponges. They watch
Mm-hmm.
everything you do, and you're like Superman to them.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It's a lot,
it's a
man.
lot.
It's a
It's a
lot.
lot to take in. But before we get too all encompassing in this, let's get to like pregnancy
Let's do some
to
questions.
year
Yeah.
one. So, I mean, good lord. I mean, with my wife being super type A and also a medical professional or provider, like she's good on the whole, researching everything that I need to know, need to eat, need to do kind of thing. So I'm kind of just like,
Mm-hmm.
let me help pick a baby name. But
Yep. So you don't have to worry about that portion.
right.
But
But as far as everything else, so that kind of gets me to, my mind wanders to, of course, the prep phase. Like, what,
mm-hmm.
when it comes time to give birth, what do I really need to be worried about those last, I don't know, I guess like the last month, the last 2 to 4 weeks kind of thing. Because I know, like, preemie birth is kind of a thing. It's a thing, especially in older parents. But like, what do I need to be like specifically kind of like keeping an eye on or worrying about, preparing for more or less those last 2 weeks? Like, obviously the birth, but
yeah, obviously the birth, but I mean, the thing is there's so little you can do in this process. And that's the scary thing and that's the frustrating
yeah,
thing, right? Baby's going to come when the Lord wills it. So most you can do is, have a quote unquote plan, right? So if you are going to have a home birth or you're going to go to a birthing center, you're going to go to the hospital, you know, best know how to get there multiple ways, right? In case, traffic's bad or
mhm.
something or the other, obviously have your baby bag, go bag
Go back, yeah,
for birth, so obviously have all the baby stuff, but, a lot of time birth is a long process. So you have some leeway if you have friends or family in the area, they can help get last minute stuff, but just basics, you know, stuff for baby, right? Your diapers, your wipes, your clothes, extras of everything because kids are disgusting and they, make everything dirty immediately. Um, your wife, if your wife has any, medical stuff, any kind of medical history, you're going to want extra prescriptions. You're going to want stuff for her. But this should all be discussed in your birth plan with your provider, right? What do you want the birth to look like, right? And they'll go through all of that, So like when we were talking with our midwife when we were getting closer to uh, to our delivery time, it's like, all right, let's talk about your birth plan. So where are we going to do this? What do we want this to look like? Do you have any special, any special requests or suggestions? And you'll go through all that. But the thing is that babies, as expansive as they are, they're pretty easy, especially when they're little, right? So baby's gonna eat and sleep and pee and poop. That's all they're responsible for quite a while, before they start growing and do everything else, right? Um, so you're going to, obviously your diapers, your wipes, I would suggest something like Vaseline or Aquaphor to ward off any kind of diaper rash. It has, it's a skin barrier, right? Clothes on clothes on clothes, and burp rags. If you guys are going to breastfeed, that's even easier because you don't even have to provide any food. Mom has it. If you're going to do formula or anything like that, have all that ready to go. But for me, my biggest stress about it, I don't even know if we'll have another one, but my biggest stress was because I had to commute for work, was actually getting to the birth center, like coordinating everything, and actually failed in that. So my wife and mother-in-law did not make it to the birth center. They made it to my mother-in-law's home. And I made it there. And then 10 minutes later, I was holding my baby.
Ooh.
So, because I was dealing with, traffic on I-35.
Thank you, 35. Thank you, Texas DOT.
Always such a pleasure. But, there you go. And for you, where this is your first baby and you guys have everything pretty safe, especially with your wife being a provider, you're not worried about a whole lot of medical stuff. I don't think you guys have a whole lot of past medical history to worry about.
Right.
I'd say easy thing would be, keep, a couple baby bags, have one at home, have one in the cars, so that, if you guys got to get up and go, you guys can get up and go. Have your people ready because you have your dog, right? So have contacts ready so that they can come and check in on pup and, make sure the house is good and everything else. But following that, leading up to labor, that's about it. More often than not, it's going to be a slow process, dipping into it where, we're going to start those Braxton Hicks, and then we're going to get closer, and then we're going to have real contractions, and they're going to get closer, and, we'll, move along from there. That's not really a super dramatic thing. It's just a, come in for a landing kind of deal.
So in go backs, like, I mean, obviously labor, unless you're lucky, is going to be a probably double digit thing in terms of time.
Sometimes. Yeah. So, I mean, and that's the thing, you have plenty of time. So for a labor bag, I would just think, what do I need for the first 24 hours? Which is a lot of diapers, a thing of wipes, and then whatever you and mom need to not go insane.
I mean, hell yeah.
So make sure that mom has food.
Yes.
Water. Probably a good idea to keep a charger and a power bank so that you can keep updated on family or, get information or whatever. But it's not super involved, especially if you're going to be doing it at a hospital. They're going to have everything, there that you need.
That's the plan, because if somehow we can get caught in freaking traffic on the way to the hospital, I'm going to be a little bit stressed.
Yeah,
we'll cross that bridge when we come.
That would not be great.
But man.
Hey guys, Seven from the Hard Times Strongmen podcast here to bring a quick word from our newest sponsor, Blackbeard Fire Starters. We first saw Blackbeard Fire Starter a few years ago, and after seeing what the product can do, it's been our kit ever since. Their fire starter rope and their fire plugs are windproof, waterproof, dummy proof. They have an insane burn time, and like anything else that they offer, it just works. Besides their fire starters, they offer an arc lighter, ferro rod, stormproof matches, basically anything that you need to get a fire started. To better equip you, we cherry picked their inventory and made our Hard Time Strongmen Fire Kit. Basically our essentials kit for anything that you could need to get a fire started. But besides that, they're offering 10% off anything in their store when you use the code STRONGMEN. We love the guys at Blackbeard Firestarter. We love what they're doing. We trust them and we trust their products, and we honestly can't recommend them enough. Make sure to check them out online at blackbeardfire.com or on Instagram at blackbeardfire. Huge shout out to the guys at Blackbeard Fire for working with us and for bringing the fire. As always, guys, stay in the fight.
Hey everybody, this is 6 and 7 with the Hard Time Strongmen podcast, and we are coming to talk to you about our Patreon and Discord.
Hey guys, our patrons get early access to all of our episodes. They get all of our exclusive pre and post shows, all of our spicy takes, all of our rabbit holes that we go on, everything that we want to include in an episode, but we can't because we need to stay on topic. And soon enough, we will be offering digital downloads, guides, everything that we've been working on in the background will soon be available to our patrons. So make sure to check it out.
And come hang out with us on Discord. Speaking of the spicy stuff, this is where we discuss most of it. Once you're there, you'll get access to all of our in-depth discussions, including stuff like homesteading, fieldcraft, medical, camping, communications, shooting. You like ARs? Come talk to us about it. You like 4x4 vehicles and prepping? Come talk to us about it.
You like tannerite, thermite, napalm? Come talk to us about it. All of the campfire talks that would get us kicked off of other platforms, it's right there in our Discord. Come join our community.
We're active on Discord every day. We're interacting with members constantly. We have guys from every walks of life coming to contribute their expertise to all of these various fields and subjects that we've been talking about.
Come join the Discord. Come join the Discord. Join our community. Build up that better class of man. Now back to the episode.
Obviously, babies can't use their words. They can just, cry in different ear-shrieking, eardrum-ripping tenors. So
if it helps, eventually you won't be able to hear it anymore.
Well, thanks to the Army, I can't really hear much to begin with. So there's that.
Compartmentalization.
Yeah. I already had selective hearing, but the Army made it worse. But I guess having a baby is going to make it even worse. So
goodness.
Yeah. How do you discern? And I guess it's probably just trial and error and, eventual muscle memory. But how do you discern the different cries, what the baby really needs?
Mom's going to know first. A lot of that you're going to base off of mom. You're still not going to know. So mom will, tell you to stop freaking out if you're freaking out for no good reason. But a lot of it, you're just going to learn on your own. Baby doesn't know for a long time.
Yeah.
Baby will cry because something's wrong. And, like I said, if baby eats and sleeps and pees and poops, you're good to go. So baby could be hungry. Baby could be thirsty. Baby could, be overtired. Baby could need to poop. I mean, so with a lot of the stuff you are going off of time, but as you're getting used to that, you're, baby's crying and you can't console baby for whatever reason. Check their diaper. They're probably wet or they load a diaper. If not, then they're probably hungry or thirsty. Or if it's none of those things, then they may just need comfort. The big thing that I tell parents in clinic, if you have I say ingest a lot of the time, but I mean, crap, man, baby's never done this before. If you have your newborn baby that's 36 minutes alive and they're crying for no good reason, they've never done this before. They don't know what the hell's going on. Everything's probably loud and bright and cold and anything else on top of the fact that they may be hungry or maybe not. I don't know. I've never had to worry about this because I've had a line straight from me to mom.
Yeah.
A lot of babies love being swaddled. Both of mine never did. Never did. Never tolerated it. So who knows? My first boy never took a binky. He took his fingers. Sucked on his fingers. Second boy loves bassies. I mean, every child is different. Every single one. So, but, and like I said, the feeding question is a big one, and that depends on a lot of things, right? So is mom going to breastfeed? Is mom going to, are y'all going to do formula? If y'all are going to breastfeed, is baby capable of breastfeeding? You have a lot of kids that are tongue tied or lip tied, and mom and dad want to breastfeed, but baby's not able to get the nutrients that they need, and that needs to be handled, and that's traumatic in and of itself. Having to actually get that, cut with a freaking laser, and that's a big deal,
right?
Scary stuff, but baby's probably hungry or thirsty or has gone pee or poop, If not, if all those things are met, swaddle the baby so that it thinks that it's in the womb again. Keep it warm and movement and and rhythmic sound. Babies love repetition and just kind of cyclical things. That's why when your kid, is a lot older, right? They'll have you read the same story 5, 10, a couple dozen times. They can't get enough just because they love repetition. They're learning.
Right.
You have to think of it that way. They're going to learn by repetition.
That's true.
But yeah, but it's a really crappy answer, but you'll get a feel for your baby as you go. But the thing is, it's like the pillars of survival, right? Baby only cares about being alive and comforted. That's it. That's all baby wants. So if you can meet those needs, then baby will be good to go.
So I guess this one will definitely kind of apply to the dad side.
Mm-hmm.
So I've heard from a lot of people that like your feelings change towards your partner after you have a baby. It could be both. It could be good. It could be bad. In your experience, did that happen to you? And like what actually happened?
Oh man, that's a deep one. I mean, easy answer is of course. Of course your feelings are going to change for your partner. I mean, we talked about this before. If you're the same person that you were 5 years ago, you failed miserably. If you are the same person after going through entire pregnancy and labor and delivery of a child, then you failed miserably. If you're that parent, right? And my wife hates it, but I love my wife when she's pregnant. I don't know what it is. I think that's just like a physiological thing for for dads, but like it just makes me so happy when my wife is pregnant. I think she's so freaking cute. It's hilarious. I just I don't know. But I'm a lot more lovey-dovey, and uh I guess I dote over my wife more. It's like, don't you dare bend over and pick up that shoe. So help me, woman. Just it's just a thing. But I don't think it's going to be a negative thing, because the thing is, like, people ask about intimacy, people ask about all that sort of stuff, and yeah, that's going to change. But that's the name of the game. Life has changed, and a lot of that stuff isn't gone forever, right?
Right.
You will be able to be with your intimate with your wife again after after delivery. I would wait for a while,
right?
Because that's pretty traumatic.
Things got to heal. Yeah,
but yeah, of course. But people are so concerned about whether they'll feel the same with their wife or with their husband after after a baby, and you won't, because you won't be the same people. If any, in my experience, at least, if anything, you'll be closer, because you've made this, this new life.
Yeah. And I kind of feel that same way, that it's already happened now. Like I'm doing the same things essentially that you've been doing. Is like I look at her differently, because it's not just this woman that was, we first started dating. She was my girlfriend. No, this is my wife, who's now carrying my child, my daughter, like
yeah. Well, isn't that such a powerful
it is
statement though? Like, it's just, those words have different meaning for you now. It's, oh, that's my wife, and she's pregnant with my daughter. That's a generational toll to those words now. Those mean something to you now. It's huge.
It is. And like I find myself just like, even when she's not paying attention, looking at her and just smiling, and like just going even more out of my way to try and do things for her, and at least things that I can do that she's not going to take care of herself. I do stop her a lot from doing things. She gets home, she's like, "Oh, I got to do this." I'm like, "No. Go.
I got this.
Go get into your cuppies. Go sit down. Go lay down. I'm good. I got this. I've been here all
Mhm.
day. I've been taking care of stuff as best I can. Now that you're home, if you think you're going to be lifting a finger, you have got another thing coming. Go sit down.
Yeah. It's a physiological thing,
It
man.
is.
It's how we're built.
It is. And,
Yeah.
just thinking about the fact that, my wife, well, period on that, like I instantly get protective in any aspect. But then the fact that she's also carrying my daughter, I feel myself kick into overdrive on protectiveness and I have to like reel myself back in. It's like, you don't have to react to a danger that's not there yet. You're good.
Yeah.
Uh,
100%.
but I feel like that's a lot of the leftover, the leftover side from the army too. There's a little bit of the PTSD kicking in, not to mention the fact that, it's a deep seated ancestral thing to be protective of your
Yeah.
wife and daughter or your wife and
Of
child,
course.
period. But
Of course. I mean, in a very, old school sense, you've now transitioned in your, even subconsciously, like you're protecting your bloodline.
it's true.
When you strip everything else away, that's, that's the long and short of it, right?
Yeah. And I probably one of the main things that I really don't want to have happen is for like the romance to die just because we had a kid, you know? Like I still want to date my wife, you know? As weird
Yeah.
as some guys may think that sounds, it's like, no, 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 no. You still need to date your wife. You still want her to feel desired, wanted, loved. Like there's something special in
100%.
her life. So I'm, God, I was single for the longest time and I was fine with it, but
Yeah.
I happened to find the one person that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. I got lucky, you know,
Hmm.
and I went from
Right.
having to change my mindset of, a single dude. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to now I have to think for two. I have to think for not just myself, but also, I have to not only manage my requirements, but also deal with my loved ones' love language and wants and needs. And that is,
Right.
if you're all out there and single, I've never had to deal with it. That is hard, especially when those love languages are not the same as yours.
Oh, it's a whole thing, man. Yeah.
I guess the question comes down to, and this really is kind of a case by case basis based on the person, but am I giving, will I be giving my wife enough attention? That's the big thing because I don't want to dote on her anymore, especially if it's not a requirement, if it's not something that she needs. But is there such thing as, well, I mean, obviously there's such thing as too little because if you freaking ignore your wife, you're going to end up with a divorce. But how do you find that happy medium, I guess, between allowing her to be an independent person, but also still feeling that love, feeling that attention that she
Oh, she'll
desires?
tell you.
She'll tell you. Yeah. I guess that's the easy
She'll
answer.
tell you. Yeah. I mean, man, 'cause, I mean, she'll tell you, but I mean, you're automatically going to be going, you know, you're going to naturally gravitate to more than, quote unquote, more
Right.
than what's needed, right? That's just, how you're built. That's how we're built. That's just what, that's just a thing.
Right.
So it's just, and that's the same thing with your kid, but at the same time, you're never going to feel like it's enough.
Yeah. And
You're never going to feel like you're giving your wife or your kid enough attention. And that's going to be the juggling act, right? So
man. And
we're constantly trying to find a way to live a life where we can give our families everything and still get what we need to done. So I don't have a good answer for that because I'm
no,
trying to figure that out too.
I get you. Like that was, I guess, kind of a loaded question in and of itself. But this next one,
Well, I guess I would say you're there's no good answer, but wherever you're at, you the viewer, figure out where your priorities are at. if your priority is not your family, if it's not your wife, if you have a, or husband, if you have your spouse, if it's not your spouse, if it's not your children, then, you know, take another look.
Right. Because I've seen, actually, that's a good point, because I've seen a lot of people who have gotten married and almost the entirety of their focus is still on themselves. They never got out of their single dude, single chick life, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
they essentially just check the box and they go right back to what they were doing before, albeit now you have ring on your finger and spouse, you know,
Right.
but they're still
Well, like
living
partying or whatever else, but
right.
it's like,
They're still just thinking for themselves, his,
mm-hmm.
herself, whatever. They're still thinking for themselves. It's too late. I can't think. They're still just thinking for their own self. So I guess when it comes down to it is I don't know if that's just their own personality, their own upbringing, or maybe it's something to do with, I guess, a lack
I feel like with anything, it's nature and nurture.
nature nurture.
You know, I mean,
Hmm.
it's a little bit of both, right? So nature, what were you brought up like? What did you see when you were growing up? How did dad treat mom? How did mom treat dad? What was the priority there? Was dad always at work? Whether he was, being at work all the time to provide for his family or because he didn't want to be at home? Was dad partying? Was mom, going off with their friends and bad mouthing her spouse? Was she neglecting her kids? Was dad neglecting? I mean, like all that stuff, right? All of that is going to make that first foundation, right? That you build up on. But then as you grow, that's the nature, right? But nurture. So, what do you see when you're right? But then what do your friends act like? What do your friends do? If you're the one married guy in your group with a kid and all your friends are partying and you're trying to keep up with all your friends, right? Is that the right answer? Are your priorities in the right place? Because then if your friends have kids, then there's, oh well, so and so he's just like out all the time, and but will they see that as a pro or a con? Will they see that as example or example to avoid? You know, it's just it's a lot, man. For me, I was given a pretty firm foundation on what parenting looked like, on what just a nuclear family looked like. I was really blessed in that way. I also saw a lot of things that weren't right, things I wanted to change. But for me, this has always been the goal in one way or another. So for me, I'm always trying to, I'm trying to imagine the man that I was born to be, the husband, the father I was born to be. And I try to make that man a reality. I try to be that man. So, my priority is not to, go out and party and do everything else. You should have a social life, right? You should, still spend time with your friends and your family. You shouldn't just ghost everybody because you suddenly got married. But there needs to be that balance there. And like I said earlier, you need to figure out what your priorities are.
What if you don't feel good enough? You know, like I know, especially for me, it's been a lot of things where it's just like, I've dated people where, I felt like I didn't measure up, but they didn't measure up, or even, I just made a lot of dumb decisions, especially when I was younger. I mean, hell, even when we got back from
Yeah.
Afghanistan, I made my fair share of really bad decisions. But you know, it's
Mm-hmm.
hard to escape that feeling sometimes of, especially when the person is such a good person, like you almost feel like they're just completely out of your league. And it's just like, what if you just feel like you're just not good enough? Like you could just be doing more. How do you combat that?
A little bit, like imposter syndrome going on.
Right, exactly.
Right. So two sides of that coin, right? You were saying like if you felt that way or if you thought that person was that way or like you felt like you didn't stack up or the your partner didn't stack up. So on the one hand, right? So feel like you don't stack up or you're not good enough. Okay. So let's not, toot horns or turn this into a I don't know, like a toxic positivity podcast. But okay, you don't feel good enough. Take the grace and be better. If you don't feel like you're good enough to be in the relationship, but you're in a relationship, that person sees something that you don't. So accept the grace that they're giving you for looking over your faults, looking past all the ugliness that you see when you look at yourself, and then fix it. Be better. If you don't feel like you stack up, work on yourself to a point to where you feel like you do.
It's a fair point because even in most relationships, well, not even most, in all relationships, nobody's perfect. So like both people have their own faults. So you're dealing with not just your own faults, but you're also dealing with how to look past or over or deal with, or, however you want to phrase it, your partner's faults as well, because they're not perfect.
Yeah.
But the only thing that really matters is, are they essentially perfect in your eyes? Are you essentially perfect in their eyes? Like there's an inherent agreement that you're not perfect, period. It's understandable.
But are you perfect for the other person?
Exactly.
Are they perfect for you?
Exactly.
Right. And on that side of the house, right? So my partner's not, get over it.
Yeah.
If they're outside of obviously some really ugly scenarios where we're talking about like abuse or like gross negligence or things that are not in any way nor will they ever be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So let's just
Yeah.
get that out of the way. Outside of things that are not okay.
Moving past that.
Right. Moving past that. Okay. You chose your person for a reason. Right. It is not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. Okay. You will have seasons, right? Popular vows, in the States are in sickness and health. You will have seasons of sickness. You will have seasons of health. You'll have seasons of rich, of, expanse, of, overflowing blessings, right? You will have seasons of poor. It will all come to you. I promise you. I will promise you that with my full heart. I do not doubt it for a moment. Right. But, also, the word says it shouldn't be any surprise. I'm a follower of Christ. I think we've talked about this in the past. Right. But the word in Matthew 19:5-6, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So there are no longer two, but one flesh. Well, therefore God is joined together. Let no man separate. Let no man being, including you. So you made the choice, right? You made the choice for a reason. So live into that.
I had like two really good questions I was going to ask, or points I was going to hit. Oh, that's what it was.
He's thinking about it.
So,
okay.
How did you deal with, after you brought the baby home, sleep schedule? Like, was your wife just up here permanently with like anytime the baby cried or needed attention, or did you get up and help? Did you switch schedules, like individual things?
That changes. That changes. So we breastfed.
Okay.
Both the boys. So, well, my wife breastfed.
I was gonna say,
both the boys.
A little weird.
I think I've given a total of one bottle. Well, no, the second boy, we had some tongue tie problems, so I gave him several bottles. But for our first boy, I gave him maybe half a bottle total, from actual pumping. But my wife, breastfed everything else. So with us, we co-slept for quite a while. Just same bed, slept in the middle. had him sleep in the middle. We had a little cushion thing that made a little board so we didn't like roll over onto him on accident.
Mhm.
But we just put that in the middle of the bed, and we co-slept when he needed to nurse my. He would let my wife know, and he'd wake up. After that, we switched to a bassinet that was fairly close to her side. I think we skipped the bassinet with our second boy. We just went to a crib that was in the same room. But with sleep schedule, that's tough because that has a lot to do with like your work. If you're in school, how your school, like how all that works out. Towards the end, my wife was in school, and our second boy, like he sleep trained really really quickly. Oh man, sleep training is a whole other episode. But it's just a conversation. If you need to, if either one of you can do it, either one of you do it. Give grace to your wife. Wives give grace to your husbands, and if you're awake, go grab them. Don't wait for your spouse to wake up and go get it because you're tired, right? But towards the end, I ended up getting up at night just because my wife needed the sleep. She needed the sleep more than I did, so I would handle the nighttime ups and downs. But there are also nights where I would get up and then I'd fall asleep while walking my son around the living room, and I'd walk into a wall.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey babe, you need to get next one. So that's just dependent on what you and your house needs. When if you guys are going to do breastfeeding, then that's probably going to be up to your wife. Mostly to get baby, because that's what baby's going to need every 3 hours or 2-3 hours, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But once baby is weaned or has other feeding methods, then that's more of a shared task. But I also my buddy here, he changed every diaper while their daughter was in diapers, while he was at home. That was just his thing. He changed every single one. He thought that was just something that he wanted to do for his wife, and so he did it.
Yeah.
With both my boys, I changed the first diaper. That's the meconium poop, and that's like tar coming out. Yeah, not fun. And my wife, was pretty busy recently, being in labor and everything, so she was resting,
recovering. Yes. No, I totally get that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, sleep schedule, how that pans out with who gets up. It's you are surviving for a while until you get into a decent routine.
I feel
which is a really crappy answer, but
yeah, it is what
that's
it
just
is.
how it is.
I kind of feel like with my my bouts of insomnia, at times I feel like I'm probably going to be best suited for nighttime. And
I was gonna say, you'll be chilling with baby. Yeah.
I mean, hell, with plus the ability to work from home, like I feel like I'll just be on baby duty 25/8 until she comes home, and then I'll just be like, here's the baby.
Yep. This was great. Here you go. I'll give you 20 minutes to decompress, and then it's all yours.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how me and my wife do it now. My wife's in school. I work with travel and because I have to commute to work. I essentially work 11-hour days. So when I come, I leave before the sun comes up. I come back. I get home at like 5:30, and by that time my wife is done. So a lot of times she gives me like 20 minutes to get changed, decompress, and then here's your babies.
Yeah.
And I handle supper and put down. But that's how our family works. So it'll be different for everybody. It'll be different for you.
I got to figure out how to utilize a baby to close deals on homes.
Oh, dude, just like bring the baby everywhere. They're cute. Girls like them.
Yeah, I've got a girl. I'm good. I'll have 3 at this point with the dog. So,
oh, dude, that's what I'm saying, man. Just like mow out the baby when you're doing walkthroughs. Just like include your baby, but then like point at the house. All of this could be yours.
If the price is right.
Like, well, it's not mine, but like notionally,
right?
Just like white picket fence type deal.
Yeah. No. I mean,
A lot of people worry about money. A lot of people worry about how expensive babies are because they do get expensive. But the first, however many, I'd say up to a year, they're not. They're just not. They're not all that expensive. You know, if you are able to breastfeed, pff, you don't have to pay for food. If you feed your wife, your baby will be fed.
right.
No sweat. Diapers, yeah, they're expensive. However, um, you know, it's not like it's a surprise.
That's true.
You know, they're gonna poop. Also, I know a lot of people who, you know, if granted they forked out a little bit of money on the front end, but they went and did cloth diapers. Cloth diapers, you even have them nowadays where they can, you know, they're the snaps. They're not obviously like pins anymore, but where they'll actually grow with baby. So you don't have to buy like, you know, different sets every time that you know, as you know, as your baby grows. But you know, if you get like 30, 50 of those cloth diapers, then obviously that's good for, you know, well more than a day, several days. You know, whenever you start to, you know, get low, just run a load of laundry. You know, probably more economical than buying a, you know, huge box of diapers every, you know, week or every other week.
So how did those cloth diapers handle blowouts?
I mean, a blowout's a blowout, man. But the thing is that it's a cloth diaper. So basically what you'll do is you would, you know, rinse out, you know, whatever, you know, actual matter is in there, but then everything else you know, it'll wash out. Just don't leave, you know, floaties in in your in a laundry, obviously. But it's, you know, if you want to do that option, if you're diligent with that option, it's a really great option.
Something to keep in mind, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm.
But then, you know, baby, I mean, hell, man, you're gonna have a baby shower. They're gonna give you all the essential stuff that you're gonna need. You know, the big ticket stuff, right? If you're blessed to have a baby shower, and then it's just upkeep for a lot of stuff. I wouldn't go. You know, you don't have to go create like, don't get a freaking ankle monitor, check the baby's heart rate, and you know all this other nonsense. You know, don't go nuts on the whole helicopter thing, but get a decent monitor. You know, call it a day. Baby, the thing that you have to think about is yes, baby is fragile. Baby does need your protection, but baby is also designed to live. I was so I was so afraid when we had our first boy because I was going through nursing school at the time, and he was a belly sleeper. So at the time in nursing school, we were taught that babies are supposed to sleep on their side with like a blanket or something rolled up, you know, against their back so they don't roll over, right? Because you're worried about SIDS. At that point, you know, that's changed who knows how many times. But you know, my baby, he would always sleep on his belly. On, you know, he'd be in the kind of the fetal position with his knees tucked under him and just like his head over to the side. And I was always worried that he would, you know, suffocate himself by just like laying face down or whatever. I was so worried about it. My wife was like, dude, chill out. He's fine. He's good. Don't worry about it. He does this all the time. You know, you're here hardly ever. He's okay. But it bothered me so much until I literally saw him on the monitor one day sleeping. His head was down one side. In his sleep, he picked his head up, turned it over, and put his head back down. And I'm like, okay, he's fine. Yeah.
Once
Whatever.
Once they get that fine motor control of being able to lift up their head and move it, you're
Yeah. But I didn't know my son could do
it.
that.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't watching him all the time, like my wife was.
Yeah.
You know? But, you know, babies are resilient more often than not. They'll be fine.
So what about pediatricians? Like, I know you have to like find a pediatrician ahead of time, and most hospitals nowadays won't actually let you leave the hospital unless you have a pediatrician lined up. So how do you go about choosing a pediatrician?
Oh man, that's not a good question for me. Obviously, find someone with a good, you know, with a good background who, you know, preferably, you know, talk to these people, right? See what they're about, see if they're a good fit for you, just, you know, on a personal level, because you want to make sure that they're going to communicate with you, they're going to advocate for you, and you know what you want, what your care to look like. But I say I'm not good call for that question because me and my wife went through a midwife, and that was because my wife has known her since she was a kid, since she was like 8 years old.
Yeah.
So, you know, we obviously have a good recommendation there.
Yeah.
and she's been doing it for quite a while. So, but I'd say the main thing in the U.S., most pediatricians are going to be part of whatever board of providers, and they're going to be generally good to go. But vet your people, and make sure you actually like these people, because you're going to have some providers who you can't stand, who they don't communicate with you, they don't respect your opinion or whatever as the parent. And the thing is, as a parent, is your call for whatever care your kid gets.
Oh God.
Right. So have someone who actually takes that into account.
Yeah, because we went through that when
But with your wife being a provider, she's gonna know people, or she's gonna know people who know people. So
yeah, we kind of went through that whole issue with our OB, because our first visit wasn't exactly best because, like I told you, we went
yeah,
in a week early and there was some
drama.
some drama there involving no heartbeat, but at the time the OB was kind of cold and kind of to the point, and I was just like, I kind of want to punch this dude in the face right frickin' now. But
Yeah,
I think he was also kind of dealing with the emotion of like, hey, there could be something wrong here. How the hell do I
right.
tell them? But
Yeah,
our very next visit, and we got that strong heartbeat, and his mood was like instantly different. And I'm like, okay,
completely
cool.
different.
I'm good with this guy. I'm good with this guy. I don't have
Yeah,
to punch him in the face today. But
right.
yeah, I'm kind of worried about that. It's what all those points that you were talking about, because the pediatrician is going to be monitoring our kid, and you know, if our pediatrician is going to be an asshole, then I'm going to have an assault charge.
Naturally, but and so one of my biggest problems in you know Western style healthcare is when providers don't explain what they're doing, or feel the need to keep you in, or forget that you are autonomous, right? You have bodily autonomy, so you can make these decisions, and it's their duty to give you make sure that you have an informed decision, right?
And that's an entirely
So
different
that's
subject
my biggest thing.
we're going to get into when I bring my wife on for the whole
Yeah,
hospital primary care setting.
yeah,
That's a different episode, folks.
yes. Yeah, but you're the dad, advocate for your people, make sure that you know what's going on, and that is their duty. If they can't handle that, then that would be my red flag. That would be my non-negotiable right there.
That's fair.
And even not even just the information thing, but like I said, the autonomy to make medical decisions that need to be made, right? So we had a birth plan that we wanted to. My wife didn't want to do uh, any kind of pain medication. She wanted to do everything naturally. The plan was, if she could not, or if the birth wasn't progressing as it needed to in a safe way at the birthing center, we were going to go to an adjacent hospital. But my our midwife had rapport with providers there who knew her, and worked together with her quite often, and well, not quite often, but enough to understand and to respect that she was the main provider. So she was going to advocate for us and advocate for our birth plan, and it was going to be carried out. So someone's not trying to, again, epidural my wife without our without our consent, just because it's policy.
Well,
That's the biggest thing. I hate bureaucracy. I hate policy, because it's the death of choice. But
I mean, dude, you and I both went through that. We spent enough time in the military to know the death of any sort of free will or free thought is tape bureaucracy. So, yeah, that's going to be
yeah,
something we're going to have to figure out. I don't know, man.
yeah.
Is there anything that you can think of that I may have missed, or might be a good point?
Oh man.
I know there's so much that goes into this, but it's, almost midnight and I'm losing my train of thought a lot.
Uh,
There's so many questions I could ask,
man,
but I'm trying to keep it on point.
I was gonna say there's hundreds and hundreds of questions. There's hundreds and hundreds of conversations, and I want this to be more of a kind of a mini series with the dadisodes, anyways, where we can cover a lot of the a lot of the process and a lot of the milestones here. But I guess I don't have anything else. I would just say my closing thought would be just to, it's hard because this is all new, but try not to worry, because like I said, people have been doing this since the beginning, right? This is nothing new. It is going to work. It's going to work out. And as long as you are doing what you can and staying within your left and rights, like we talked about, you're not going to have any kind of issues. There's nothing new under the sun.
True.
It's just finding your place in it.
Yep. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. Just figure out a way the wheel works best for you.
Yeah. And the fact that, worrying isn't going to get you anywhere, because you can stress and you can worry about, what exact brand of diapers I'm going to use, or, whether or not, my kids' toys have lights and sounds, or, any, the freaking paint in your nursery, but if you're providing for your baby, if you're doing the right thing, if you're doing right by, you and your family, then you need to learn to let that be enough.
Some good words of wisdom right there.
Yeah. Or I guess more succinctly, like we talked about when you're talking about dealing with, if I'm am I good enough for my wife or my spouse, right? All in all, wrapped up in a bow, accept the grace, give grace, be better.
Oh, I like both those points. I mean, I kind of feel like that covers pregnancy through birth. I guess we'll have to cover birth to year one or so in a later one.
I was going to say, we definitely miss stuff. We'll always miss stuff for dads, but
maybe we'll do a part 2.
We'll get there. Yeah, it'll buff out.
It'll buff out in the end. Yeah.
Rush some dirt in it. Bring a jacket.
Yeah. Take a knee. Drink water. Change your socks.
Drink water. All right, brother. Got anything?
Nope.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you,
Dad.
Thank you, Dad.
We're the Hard Time Strongman podcast with another dadisode, another official newly minted dad.
Woo.
And for sure, hope you enjoyed the episode. If you have any questions for dads, let us know. Hit us up on IG, email, Substack, YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you can reach us. We'll be listening.
Discord,
all of it. But until next time, we're the Hard Time Strongman podcast with another dadisode for you, sharing of a better class of man. Stay in the fight.
Stay in the fight.
Hey guys, this is 6 and 7 with the Hard Time Strongman podcast. Wanted to take a second to do a mental health check-in and to tell you all about the 988 Crisis Lifeline. So, the 988 Lifeline is a national network of local crisis centers that provides free and confidential emotional support to people in suicidal crisis or emotional distress 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in the United States. You can reach the Lifeline at 988lifeline.org, or you can call or text 988 to get help, to get someone real on the phone.
Every struggle is different. Every struggle is hard, but you are not alone in whatever you're going through. As someone who has used the 988 crisis line, I fully recommend that if you're feeling any of those feelings of depression, suicide, hopelessness, get in touch with them immediately. They will help you. They will listen to you.
Once again, guys, you can reach the Lifeline at 988lifeline.org, or you can call or text them at 988. As always, guys, stay in the fight.
Stay in the fight.